So we were seeing this shloka wherein we saw the AyudhAs, the weapons and the ornaments of bhagavAn. We saw two shlokas in that one. The last line was a line on vasudeva. Vasudevastu katitaha budaihi anaka dundubihi. That was the last line we stopped. So if you see in this shloka, we have the AyudhAs and the AbhUShaNas of bhagavAn, and at the same time there is a mention of Vasudeva, who is the father of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So this looks little peculiar because on the first three lines he has spoken about the weapons and the ornaments. On the last line, Vasudeva is being spoken, the father who was responsible for the birth of Bhagavan on this earth. So the rationale could be something like this. So just like Emberuman, he always stays with Pirati. Shrihi Vishnoho Anapayini Raghavate Abhut Sita Rukmini Krishna Janmani. So in Rama Avatara, she stayed as Sita. In Krishna Avatara, she was Rukmini. She is Vishnu's Anapayini, ever inseparable Sahadharmachari. So because of all of this, we say that Shri Mahalakshmi is never separable from Emberuman. So same way, his AyudhAs and AbhUShaNas are also not separable from him. Although when he makes the avataram, he makes specific avatarams with specific AyudhAs. For example, in Ramavatara, you can see that he made an avatara with Sharangapani. He was the Sharangapani. He came with his Sharangadhanas. So same way in Parashurama Avatara, he came with his axe. In Balarama, he came with his hala, plow. So even though Bhagavan comes with specific weapons and ornaments, he always has access to the ornaments and the AyudhAs. That is the gist here. So he makes an avataram having access to the weapons and the ornaments. That is the connotation here. Just like he is inseparable from Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi, he is also inseparable from these AyudhAs and AbhUShaNas. And so the person responsible for his avatara here, who was Vasudeva, is also being spoken of in that conjunction. That is what we have to understand. Because the AbhUShaNas and AbhUShaNas never separate him when he makes an avataram. So in that context, the person who was responsible for his avataram, Vasudeva, is also being spoken here. So that is the connotation. So it is important that we understand more about Vasudeva. But before that, let's read a shloka from shrImad bhAgavatam. In this, Bhagavan decides to be born as an avatara to King nAbhi and his wife merudevI. He is born as shrIshabadeva. He takes birth under the parenthood of nAbhi and merudevI. nAbhi was a great king who did several penance. He never had a son. So when he made severe penances on Bhagavan, Bhagavan agreed to be born, to make an avataram to nAbhi and his wife merudevI. So shrImad bhAgavatam explains how Bhagavan appeared to nAbhi and his wife merudevI. Atahatam avishkrita bhujayugaladhvayam hiranmayam purusha vishesham kapisha kausheya ambharadaram urasivilasat srivatsalalamam dharavana vanaruhavanamala achuri amrutamani gadadibihi upalakshitam Sputakirana pravara mukuta kundala kataka kati sutrahara keyuranu paradi angabhushana vibhushitam Ritvik sadasya gruhapatayaha adanahayiva buddhamadanam upalabhya sabahumanam arhanena avanata shirshanaha upatastuhu. So when Emberuman appeared to nAbhi and wife merudevI, how did he appear? Atahatam. The word atha means afterwards. So it refers to after an event. So here the event refers to bhagavAn deciding to be making an avataram to King nAbhi and wife merudevI. So that is the meaning of the word atha. Atahatam, indeed thereafter, avishkrudabhuja yugaladvayam. Yugala means pair, dvayam means two. Yugaladvayam means pair of two, which means four. Bhujaha is actually the shoulders. Avishkrita manifested. So he manifested in the form of having two shoulders, two strong bahu or bhuja. Hiranmayam purusha vishesham. So he was very unique. Vishesham, he was very unique. That Purusha, that bhagavAn who appeared to nAbhi and his wife merudevI was Hiranmayam, was golden all over. So in Chandogya Upanishad, it is said that bhagavAn is golden all over and he also sports a golden mush. It is said like that. So Parthasarathi Perumal in Chennai has that mustache. And don't ask why we shouldn't wear mustache when bhagavAn can wear. I mean, this is one of the Shastric versions where bhagavAn sports a mush. So that is the only Perumal who has that mush. Rest of them he's not seen with mush at all. And I don't know why it is. But Hiranmayam, it is defined, it is very much declared in many Shastras and Puranas and in Upanishads that he's Hiranmayam. He's golden all over. Kapisha Kausheya Ambharadaram. Kausheya means silk. Ambaradaram is the pitambaram that he wears. So that pitambaram is silk-like. Kapisha, yellow, brown or yellow pitambaram, which is sparkling as silk. Urasi vilasat shrīvatsalalamam. Urasi means the chest. Uraha means chest. Urasi means in the chest region. Vilasat, resplendent. shrīvatsalalamam. He has this mark called Srivatsa, which we already saw. So he sports the mark Srivatsa mole in his chest. Dharavana vanamala dharavara vanaruha vanamala. Vara means best. Dharavara means the best of the best. Best of the conch. So it refers to Panchajanya. Dhanavara means it refers to Panchajanya. Vanaruha. Ruha means flower. Vanaruha, the flower that grows in the forest, which is lotus. So he comes with Dharavara, a conch called Panchajanya, Vanaruha, a forest flower called Padma, Mala called Vanamala, which he wears it on his neck. Achuri is the other name of Sudarshana Chakra. Amrita Mani is the Kaustubha Mani that he is wearing on his chest again. And then Kaumodaki. So Gadadibihi. Gada is the Kaumodaki that he is wearing. And Upalakshitam. With all of this, he is characterized. So he is characterized by Urasi, Srivatsa mark in his chest. He is characterized by Dharavara, the Panchajanyam, Vanaruha, the lotus in his hand, Vanamala, the garland on his neck, Achuri, the disc that he holds on the hand, Amritamani, and that is the Kaustubha Mani that he again sports on his neck, Gadadibihi, Kaumodaki. With all of this, he is being characterized. He came in this form to nAbhi. Sputakirana pravara mukuta kundala kataka kati sutrahara keyuranu paradi. So Sputakirana pravara, very powerful, resplendent mukutaha, the throne. He came with a throne. Kundala kataka. Kundala is more like an earring. It is the shape of a fish. So fish-like shape earrings. Kataka is again what one wears on the arms. bhagavAn wears bracelets on his arms, ornamental bracelets called Kataka. Kati Sutra is what they call in Tamil as Arnakal. He wears a waist girdle, and that lies on top of his pitambaram. Then he has hara, garland, keyura, again armlets, and nuparadi. Nuparadi means etc. Adi is etc. Nupara is a kind of an anklet that is being worn. Angabhushana vibhushitam. So he is decorated with all of these ornaments as well. Ritvik sadasya grihapatayaha. So when he appeared to nAbhi and merudevI, there were Ritvik, the priests, sadasyaha, the family members, and grihapati. Grihapati, bhupati, Rajan is all synonymous. So King nAbhi, it refers to King nAbhi. So nAbhi, his household, and the priests that had assembled there, all of these people, what happened to them? Adana hayiva uttamadanam upalabhya. As though somebody very poor in life became a sudden upstart. They suddenly got wealth, abundant wealth in their life. They felt that kind of an experience. Adanaha eva, although as though they were poor, uttamadhanam upalabhya, and having got surplus money or wealth. So they felt that kind of a feeling seeing bhagavAn appear before him. Sabahumanam arhanena avanata shirshanaha upatastuhu. So sabahumanam means with lot of respect. Arhanena, with pujadi dravyas, with whatever you need to respect a guest. They respected him, the bhagavAn, with avanata shirshanaha, with their heads bowed down. Avanata means bowed down. With their heads bowed down, with all humility, they respected and they welcomed the guest, who is bhagavAn himself, and they prayed for bhagavAn. So in this shloka of shrImad bhAgavatam, you see there is a mention of lot more ornaments and AbhUShaNas and jewels. So the next one, now we talked about vasudevastu katitaha budairanaka dundubihi. That was the last line in the last shloka. So Vasudeva being the father of Vasudeva, Krishna, it is important to know the lineage of Vasudeva so that we understand the lineage of bhagavAn Shri Krishna as well. So in Mahabharata, the beauty is you will see innumerable characters, innumerable events. Okay? So there is a very popular saying on Mahabharata, Dharme charte cha kame cha mokshe cha bharatarushabha yadi hasti tadanyatra yanne hasti tadanyat tadat kvachitanat yanne hasti natat kvachit. So in Mahabharata, whatever is there in Mahabharata, yadi yat iha asti, whichever is there in Mahabharata, tat anyatra asti. So whatever we are seeing around us is all what is there in Mahabharata. Yanne hasti na tatra kvachit. Whatever is not in Mahabharata, whatever is not said in Mahabharata, that is not to be seen anywhere. So Mahabharata is Panchamo Vedaha. So it is regarded as the fifth Veda. If you read Mahabharata, you have got a wide variety of exposure and experience in your life. So that's why it's very important to read Mahabharata. You have Srimad Bhagavad Gita coming in Mahabharata. You have Viduraniti coming in Mahabharata. You have Vishnu Sahasranama coming in Mahabharata. And you have Harivamsha. You have a lot of other details which you will not see anywhere else. So, yadi hasti tad anyatra yanne hastri natat kvachit. So what you see in Mahabharata is what is there everywhere else. And what you don't see in Mahabharata is nowhere else. So that is the beauty of Mahabharata. So in Mahabharata, you have innumerable characters. And especially Vasudeva, when Vasudeva was giving was responsible for bhagavAn Shri Krishna to make an avataram, it is important to know who were the Purvajas or the ancestors of Vasudeva And hence, we will also understand the lineage of bhagavan Sri Krishna in Mahabharata. So these shlokas are coming from Brahma Purana. I will just read those shlokas. And as I read the shlokas, we will understand the lineage here. How are we doing on time? We have 10 more minutes. Okay. Tatradau yaduputra kroštavamshavarnanam. So this is about the Kroštavamsha description. Kroštuhu was a king. So Krishna is regarded as having hailed from Kroshtu Vamsha or Vrishni Vamsha. Jayadu Jayadu Devo Devaki Nandanoyam Jayadu Jayadu Krishno Vrishni Vamsha Pradipaha. So says Kulashekara Alvar in Mukundamala. So there is a clan, Kroshtu clan or Vrishni clan, as what you want to call, in which Sri Krishna Paramatma hailed from. And in that clan was Vasudeva also. And Vasudeva, these 14 shlokas in Brahma Purana explain how Vasudeva was having the ancestral lineage. So once we understand that, then from Vasudeva, how Krishna was being born with all his wives. Because Vasudeva was a very powerful king. He was not an ordinary king. When bhagavan had to make an avatara with Vasudeva, Vasudeva must have been a great king, just like Dasharatha Maharaja, right? So I will just go through these shlokas. Lo maharshana uvacha gandhari chaiva madri cha kroshthor bharye bhabuvatuhu gandhari janayamasa anamitram mahabhalam. So there was a king, Kroshtuhu. He had two queens, Gandhari and Madri. Don't confuse this with the queens of Dhritarashtra and Pandu's wife Madri. So Dhritarashtra's wife was Gandhari and Pandu's wife was Madri. But this Gandhari and Madri is Kroshtu's wife. So some names repeat. So Maharaja Kroshtu, which is first described here as the topmost lineage, had two wives, Gandhari and Madri. Madri yudajitam putram tatonyam devamidusham tesham vamshastridha bhutaha krishninam kulavardhanaha. So now what happened? Between Kroshtu and Madri, there was a son, there were two sons, Yudajitam and Devamidusham. And to Madri and Kroshtu was born Anamitra. So this is the lineage, first level lineage after Kroshtu Raja. And Tesham Vamshastridha Bhutaha Vrishninam Kulavardhanaha. So these three were primarily responsible for growing the Vrishni race. So that is what it says. Madryaha putrau tu jajñāte shrudhau vrishnyandakabubhau jajñāte tanayo vrishne shvafalkaschitrakasthatha. So the next line you have Vrishni and Andhaka. So to Yudhajit was born Vrishni, to Devamidusham was born Andhaka. Now, Vrishni's race is further described, and Vrishni had a son called Shvafalaka and Chitrakaha. So he had two sons, Vrishni and Shvafalaka. Shvafalakastu munishreshthaha dharmatma yatra vartate nasti vyadivayam tatra navarshastapameva. So this son of Vrishni called Shvafalaka, he was a Munishreshtha. He was the best among the sages. Although he was a king, he was a sage as well. Dharmatma, he was also a righteous king. Dharmatma yatra vartate, where the king is righteous in nature, where he is a Dharmatma, where he always stands for righteousness. Nasti vyadibhayam tatra. There is no fear for diseases in such a location. So if the leader of the land is just and righteous and dharmic, the subjects are all having no diseases. So yatha raja tata praja. So The king has to be Dharmatma. Navarshtapamevacha, na avarsha tapam evacha. So Varsha means rain. Varshayati means it is raining. So Varsha is rain. Na avarsha means famine, no rain. Na avarsha, two negatives. Na avarsha, no famine. Na tapam, no excessive heat. Cha eva. So in such a land which is being ruled by the Dharmatma, there is no diseases to be found. There is nothing called a famine. And there is no excessive heat due to the sun. These are all the other two good things that can happen when the leader is just and righteous. So such a king was Shvafalaka. Shvafalaka was very righteous. Kadachit kashirajasya vishaye munisattamaha trini varshani purnani navarshat pakashasanaha. So during his regime of Shvafalaka, there was also a king of Kashi. So the king of Kashi, during his regime, there was no rain in his land for 3 long years. Trini varshani purnani, for 3 complete years. Na avarshat akashasanaha. When he was reigning, there was no rainfall in his land. Kadachit means sometime when Kashiraja was ruling. Oh Munisattamaha, oh best of sages. This is what Lomaharshana is telling to the other sages who are gathered around him to hear Mahabharata along with Janamejaya. So Munisattamaha refers to the sages listening to Lomaharshana, the Sutta, who is narrating Mahabharata to all of them. So in Mahabharata, you have stories within stories within stories. It's very deep and convoluted. It's very easy to get confused. So this is a conversation that is happening between Lomaharshana and the sages. In that conversation, he describes the Vamsha of Vasudeva. So, Trini Varshani Purnani Na Varshat Akashasanaha Satatra Chanayamasa Shvafalkam Paramarchitam Shvafalka Parivartena Vavarsha Harivahanaha. Harivahanaha is Indra. So what this Kashi king did, he brought Shvafalka to his land and he revered him like God. Shvafalka, the king, was being revered like God by this king of Kashi. So what happened? Indra in Swarga, who is also the god of rain, he granted rainfall to the Kashi land. That is what happened because of that was the parivartana, the change that happened due to Shvafalka coming into the region of king of Kashi. Shvafalkaha Kashirajasya Sutham Bharyamavindata Gandhini Namagam Sacha Dadau Vipraya Nityashaha. So pleased with the king of Kashi, who was extremely pleased with Shvafalka because it rained on his land. What he did was he gave his daughter in hand with Shvafalka. So Shvafalka married the daughter of king of Kashi. Her name was Gandhini. So if you see on the very left here, you see Gandhini wedded to Shvafalka. So Gandhini got married to Shvafalka and she was called Gandhini Kimartam Tasya Nama, because Gam Sacha Dadau Vipraya Nityashaha Iti Gandhini. So she used to donate cows, Gam Dadati. She used to donate cows to Vipraha, to the Brahmins, ever. Nityashaha she used to do it. Means every day and every time, whenever she got an opportunity to do that, she used to donate cows to Vipras or Brahmanas. So she was called Gandhi. And Gandhini married Shvafalka. Shvafalka helped Kashi, king of Kashi, to get rainfall. Okay, so that is the story. Tata yajvacha virascha shrutvan natiti priyaha akrura sushave tasmat shvafalka bhuri dakshinaha. So there was his son called Akrura who was born to him. He was also a very benevolent person. He was a Tataha. Tataha, Yajvaha, Virascha. So three attributes are given there. He was a very benevolent son. He was doing a lot of yagas and yajnas. He was a very courageous prince. Shrutavan Atiti Priyaha. It is well known that he used to love guests coming into his house. Atiti Priyaha. Today, no one likes guests coming home, but those days, people and kings who like guests coming home. Atiti Priyaha. Akruraha. Akruraha was his name. Sushave Tasmat. Because of all of these great qualities, Akrura was being born. Swafalkat Bhuri Dakshinaha. So to him, to that Swafalka was born Akrura of great fame, of great courage, of great benevolence, and he who used to do a lot of yagas. Upamadgastatha madguhu meduraschari ve. Upamadgustatha madguhu merduraschari me jayaha avikshitastata kshepaha shatrugnyashchari mardanaha dharmadhukyati dharmacha dharmokshandhakarustatha avaha prativahau cha sundari cha varangana. So now these two lines describe who were the offsprings of Akrura. So Akrura married Ugrasena, and from Ugrasena he begot 16 sons and one daughter. And those names are given below. Meduraha, Arimejayaha, Avikshitaha, Shatrugnaha, Arimardanaha, Dharmadhruk, Yati Dharma, Dharmoksha, Yati Dharma, Andhakuruhu, Avahaha, Prativahaha, and one daughter called Sundari, who was very beautiful. Varangana means a very beautiful lady, and her name was Sundari. So that is those shlokas. Akrurena. Second. Akrurena grasenayam sugatrayam dvijasattamaha prasenashchopadevascha jajñate deva varchaso. So Akrura with Ugrasena also got two other sons, Prasena and Upadeva. So you may ask, what is the big deal in knowing all of these names? I mean, what is the fun? So many things are being born. But remember, this is the clan of bhagavAn. So it is very important to understand our ancestorship, because we don't know. Maximum we know maybe about 1 or 2 or 3 heads above, and beyond that we don't know. Beyond our grandfather we don't know. But at least in the Puranas, when bhagavAn did an avataram, his clans are being mentioned. So it is very good. So Ugrasena married Akrura, and she got 2 sons, Prasena and Madguhu. I'm sorry, Prasena and Upadeva. Upadeva and Prasena were the 2 sons of born to Akrura and Ugrasena as well. So then you have Chitrakaha. Chitrakaha was the other son of Vrishni. You remember here in Vrishni we had Shvafalka and Chitraka. Chitraka married Bhojya and Asikna. Okay, with Bhojya and Chitraka, if you see, there is a connection here, and they had 10 sons and 2 daughters. So their name is Prithu, Viprithu, Ashwagriva, Ashwabahu, Swaparshvakaha, Gaveshana, Arishtanemihi, Ashwaha, Dharmabhrith, Subahu. Those were the name of 10 sons who were born to Bhojya and Chitraka. And they had 2 daughters, Shravishta and Shravana. Same way, Chitraka also had another wife called Asikna. Under Asikna was born Devamidusham. So these other shlokas tell about the same thing. So Chitrakasya bhavan putraha. Now it is describing Chitraka. Chitrakasya bhavan putraha Pruthir Pruthirvipruturevacha Ashwagrivo Ashwabahuscha Swaparshvagaveshano Arishtanemirashvascha Sudharma Dharmabhrittatha Subahuhu Bahubahascha Shravishta Shravane Striyo Asiknyam Janayam Asa Shuram Devamidusham Mahishyam Jagnire Shuraha Bhojayam Purushadashaha. So it gives the names of all of these 10 sons, and it also says 10 sons were born to Bhojya, and the remaining were born to the other wife, Asnika. So Bhojya and Asnika. So if you see the lineage here, is like this. Once again, to recap, Koshtu was the king. Koshtu had 2 wives, Gandhari and Madri. Then Gandhari and Koshtu got a son, Anamitram. Then Koshtu and Madri gave rise to Yudhajitam and Devamidusham. Yudhajitam had Vrishni as his son. Devamidusham had Andhakaha as his son. Vrishni had Shwafalka and Chitraka. Shwafalka married Gandhini. Chitraka had 2 wives, Bhojya and Asnika. To Shwafalka and Gandhini was born Akrura. Akrura married Ugrasena. Ugrasena had 16 sons and 1 daughter. Then Chitraka, the other son of Vrishni, married Bhojya and Asnika. To Chitraka and Asnika was born 1 son, Devamidusham. To Bhojya and Chitraka was married. They got married and they had 16 sons and 10 sons and 2 daughters. So that is briefly the ancestral Purvajas of Vasudeva. I know it is a little tough to digest all of these names and the relations, and I myself am reading this the first time. So this is the ancestral patronage. It is good to know these names, So following this, the eldest son of Bhojya and Chitraka, who was called Prithu, was Vasudeva. So we will see from Vasudeva who were his wives, who were his children. So there are a lot of important relationships to be understood in Mahabharata. I know I'm a little digressing here. We started from Tondaradipodi Alvar's Pashuram. We are not yet gone there. But this is the last line that we saw in Bhagavan's ornaments and AyudhAs. So it is worth detailing Vasudeva's ancestral lineage and how Sri Krishna relates to Vasudeva through Devaki and other wives of Vasudeva. So it is important to at least know this in principle. We don't need to get too deep into it. But at the same time, once we know this kind of ancestral lineage, then we can get back to Tondaradipodi Alvar's Taniyan. So that we can do sometime following in the next week or so, I hope. But thanks for listening. This has been a little not so pleasant day, but we lost internet quite a few times. But at least I hope this thing was stable enough, which is good. So we'll catch up again next week.
Thank you, Vasu.
It was nice to hear all this.
I hope this bored you so much.